this bad boy can fit so many teraflops in it. Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin, and the day is here. Been waiting for, I don't know, like 500 years, 8 years since the Xbox One was announced. Console generations don't happen every day. Today, we're unboxing the Xbox Series X. Okay, so like I said, don't happen every day. Console generations happen every like 7 or 8 years. We had a few since then to keep us occupied, right? We had the Xbox One, and then we had the Xbox One S, and then we had the Xbox One X. And now it's time for the Xbox Series X. Microsoft sent this to me. They gave me a choice between the S and the X. I chose the X because I do have a 4K display, a 4K TV. You know, when I reviewed the Xbox One X, I had a 1080p TV, and Microsoft was just like, we really want people to review this on a 4K TV. I was like, guess I'm buying a 4K TV. So that's why I'm here for the Series X now. But the Series S, if you've got a full HD TV, that's a solid option too. It's much slimmer and lighter, and it's pretty cool. So what are we getting from here? 12 teraflops. That's a lot of teraflops. It supports 4K 120 FPS gaming, which is awesome. Because remember, the Xbox One X was 4K gaming. The Xbox One S was 4K streaming. So now it's about having 4K at a high frame rate, although it can apparently do 8K if you happen to have an 8K TV, but you won't get that high frame rate. So 8K HDR actually, which it actually says on the website. As far as what's inside, internally it's got an AMD Zen 2 chip, octa-core. It's 7 nanometer. It's the GPU. Like I said, 12 teraflops, 16 gigabytes GDDR6 memory, so awesome. It's got an HDMI 2.1 port on the back, although really, unless your TV supports it, you're not really going to benefit from that. But it's future-proof, because remember, this does have to last 7 or 8 years. This has to work. This has to take advantage of what your next TV has to offer as well. Okay, Xbox Velocity architecture. Okay, so that's obviously has to do with the new CPU, the GPU. Also, it has a 1 terabyte SSD. This is the first Xbox with an SSD. So that actually, like, if you don't know about storage, it probably doesn't mean that much to you, but it will, because that means it adds a lot of speed. Having a regular hard disk drive, a spinning drive, like previous consoles did, it's like a bottleneck. It means more loading times. So this means things are going to be a lot faster, much lower loading times. This has a feature where you can shut down the console and pick up gaming right where you left off, instantly resuming. There's some very cool stuff there. It's going to be fast, not just powerful, but also fast, and that's important. There's a lot of cool stuff. Remember, this is a generational improvement. It's a next generation of console, but you have thousands of games at launch, because you can play everything on here that you can play on an Xbox One console. That includes the thousands of Xbox One games out there. That includes the over 500 Xbox 360 and original Xbox games that are playable through the backward compatibility program. So you can play 4 generations of Xbox games on here. So at launch, as the biggest library of games than any console in history has had at launch, right? So that's pretty cool. But speaking of backward compatible games, this has a feature called Smart Delivery. And I don't know if it's a Series X feature or just a general Xbox feature, because what Smart Delivery does is that it smartly gives you the version of the game that's right for your console. Okay, so what does that mean? Now, you go out, maybe you're not buying an Xbox Series X on day one. Maybe you're saying, well, I can afford the Series S, but I want the Series X. Like, I'm going to wait a year, and I'm going to save up a little extra money and we get the Series X. So, but in the meantime, there's games you want. So you buy games for your Xbox One, and eventually you're going to get that Series X, and you want the Series X version of the game. Smart delivery, you buy the game once, and then you're going to play it on your Xbox One. Then when you get your Xbox Series X, it's just going to automatically give you the Series X version of the game. By the way, the problem here, I keep saying Series X. It means Series S as well. There's just no actual brand for this generation of consoles. No, really, there's no brand. It's apparently the brand is Xbox, just like it was for the original Xbox and other generations, because it's so. I guess the proper term is like what they're writing is Xbox Series X/S. Yeah, like we used to be able to say the Xbox One generation, the Xbox 360 generation, the Xbox generation. Like this generation just has no name. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if that changed and they just kind of retroactively added a brand to this at some point. But I digress. We were talking about smart delivery. So you'll automatically get the version of the game that's right for the console that you're using. And that's pretty awesome. Now we're going to try to get this open. I purposely didn't put a knife out here because I think I can do this without a knife. By the way, I noted that the GPU has 16 gigabytes GDDR6 memory. That's more than you can get in a PC, in a gaming PC, or at least it was for the RTX NVIDIA RTX 20 series. I have a 2080 Ti in my desktop, which up until very recently was the very best you could get. And that had 11 gigabytes of GDDR6. So 16 gigs for something that costs $500 is pretty awesome. I mean, if you're going to go out and buy a GPU, just a GPU, you're spending more than $500. But of course, consoles are kind of about buying into the ecosystem. Now, it looks like we can just pull on the edges here, and this is going to come right off. Not the quietest tape to come off, but that's okay. Notice, by the way, power your dreams. That's been the theme of the whole marketing campaign for the Series X. And then, of course, you have the picture of the Master Chief, which is kind of sad because clearly Halo Infinite was supposed to be the the flagship title, to the flagship launch title for this console, and this thing launches on November 10th, and unfortunately Halo Infinite is not launching on November 10th. In fact, it's delayed until next year, and you can see, like, if you look at Microsoft's marketing, their commercials, the box, Halo is everywhere. Halo is their flagship game. They can't be happy that this thing was delayed. But I mean, we'll see what happens with that. So I think I got all the. I don't know how this opens exactly. Oh, it might be upside down. It's probably upside down. So you can see the Xbox holes. All right, here we have it. There's more power your dreams. Yeah. So, oh man, I've got to be careful taking this out. It's almost 10 pounds. 9.8 pounds to be specific. It's 301 by 151 by 151 millimeters. So it's almost exactly proportionate, where obviously this is a square, and then this side is almost exactly twice as tall as one side of the square. So there's a lot of symmetry here. Let's see what else we've got in the box. Just additional support after setup. We do have a new controller, and that's something that we're going to look at in a moment. The new controller is interesting because there's a lot of features that we've seen on the Elite controller, right? I have both generations of the Elite controller. I love it, and one of the reasons that I love it is because of the circular D-pad here. and that's something that I've always appreciated in games. And we have that on the new controller. And then of course, the only reason I got the Series 2 was because it has a USB Type-C port, and then this has that as well. So let's see what else we got up here. Power cable. All right, power cable. HDMI. Ultra high speed HDMI. Ultra high speed is what you need for HDMI 2.1. But again, if your TV doesn't have a USB 2.1 port, you're not going to benefit from that, right? Okay, so let's see what else we got. Here is the new controller. So this thing does, it looks a lot more like the old controller. It does have batteries, which batteries do come in the box. And that's all we've got in the box. Now, interestingly, there's no code for Game Pass or anything in here. Usually, I mean, I bet when you buy it, they'll throw in, 2 weeks of Game Pass or something. This is something, it kind of bums me out too, because when I reviewed the Xbox One X, Microsoft literally included codes for about 30 games in that package. Like whatever kind of game you were into, you could like they were offering it, and it made sense. But now they have Game Pass, so they can kind of just give you a subscription for that and say, just use that. So here we have it, Xbox Series X. This thing is, it is heavier than I expected it to be, but, obviously it's not something I'm carrying around with me. You can lay it on its side if you like. You could stand it up. I think it looks a little nicer stood up, so we'll just hold it like that. And, it looks awesome, right? It's the Xbox. There's not much to show off, just because, like we've been kind of down this, like there's been pictures of it forever. One thing I was interested in is the holes at the top, because people can stick things like people with consoles do tend to have kids. People in general tend to have kids. So what happens when you jam a crayon in the top? I don't know. There's a fan up there, obviously, so the air can come through the bottom. You notice this is elevated a little bit, so air can come through the bottom. It can go through the chassis, and then it can come out the top. It's meant to have a very quiet fan. Also has a vapor chamber in there, so looks awesome. We could also take a closer look at the controller here. There's the new share button that kind of stands out here, so that's obviously you can share screenshots, I'm sure, clips of your games and all that good stuff. Xbox button at the top. I just pressed it to see if it's as shallow as the one on the Elite Series 2, but it's not. It's just regular. It also has the colored buttons like we've seen on the regular Xbox wireless controller. The design is generally the same, although we do have another thing that's been borrowed from the Elite controller is the textured triggers. This is good. Your hands get sweaty, they don't slip as much. Stuff like that. It's cool. We've also got USB Type-C, something that if you wanted on an Xbox wireless controller, you previously had to get on Elite Series 2. So, you've got a lot of features that were previously exclusive to the Elite, like that circular D-pad. What else do we have? That's mostly it. The share button, the textured triggers, USB Type-C, the new D-pad. That's about what's new, and it's good, right? It's good. So now the question is, why would you buy an Elite Series 2 if it's got, good things? Honestly, yeah, like if you want, like the Elite Series, the Elite controller in general still has a bunch of good stuff. You could remove the joysticks easily and pop them back on there. Like, this has a lot of removable parts like that. And it also has a spot on the back for triggers. You can add metal triggers that it comes with, and you could use that. So, there are still absolutely, reasons to buy the Elite controller, even though there are, some features that were brought over to the regular controller. And honestly, I feel like these are common sense features that we needed, right? First of all, USB Type-C. Micro USB is terrible because like no one should be using micro USB anymore, right? Like who's got a micro USB cable lying around? And I realize for most of us, when it comes to an Xbox controller, you're just gonna pop the batteries in the back and you're gonna press the button and connect to your Xbox wirelessly. But remember, you can use this to connect to a PC, and I usually use a wired connection with a PC. You can even use a wired connection with the console if you want. So, I mean, just keep that in mind that does matter. And when you do want to use it, you don't want to go fishing for a micro USB cable. So that's an important change. I think the D-pad's an important change. Honestly, I couldn't care less about the share button, but that's just me. The textured triggers are cool and generally textured body. So this is a good controller. I feel like there's a lot of intelligent improvements there, without taking value away from the Elite controller. Like, because you shouldn't have to pay a couple $100 for a good controller. Where now the value proposition of the Elite controller is more of a specialty thing, because not everybody needs to pull off joysticks or add the metal triggers on the bottom or switch between different settings like that. So I'm sure at some point you will see a new Elite controller that will add something like the share button and probably a couple other new features. But honestly, this is a good controller, and I am excited to use it. Well, there you have it. This is the Xbox Series X, and obviously I'm pumped to start playing around with this. This is it's the thing, it's the thing we've been waiting so long for. Microsoft has been teasing this, before they even had a name. It was Scarlet, and man, the hype is real here. Like seriously. I needed this in my life, and now it's here. By the time that you see this video, I'll have been playing around with this for 2 days, and that's a week from now, because Microsoft has asked that I not set up this console until the 28th. Today, for me, is the 23rd. For you, it's the 30th. So, yeah, so I can't. There's going to be a software update to come in on the 28th, so I will look forward to that. And so anyway, guys, stay tuned. I'll have a review that's coming up, and I'm going to play some games. There are like Microsoft said, there are 30 games. There's 30 or so games that'll be optimized on day one for the Series X. And of course, there are like the launch library. It consists of thousands of games. You can play anything that you were able to play on your Xbox One. So guys, stay tuned. I'm pumped. You should be pumped too. And that's it. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.